Hey guys, thanks for joining me today for the New Teacher Success Network podcast. Now, today we are going to talk about something that is really important for all teachers, not just new teachers. But I know that you may have encountered parents in your career so far that tend to be a little bit challenging to work with. And what we will discuss today is how important it is to handle these situations with professionalism, with confidence, so that you can come across as knowledgeable and helpful and working toward the betterment of your students. So today's episode is going to be all about how to deal with difficult parents when you are in communication with them. So that up next. Now, if you are joining me through YouTube, thanks for being here. I'd love it if you would like, subscribe, click that little bell, and go ahead and just share with whoever you would like to. I'd love to hear your comments. All of those things are super important to keep YouTube and all the podcast analytics knowing that you are actually listening to me. So I would appreciate it greatly. So jumping in today's episode, we need to first begin with, it's really important to understand the perspective that your parents have when you are in communication with them. Now, every parent has a little bit of a different communication style. They come off a little bit differently. They prefer different forms of communication, whether it be email, phone calls, or in person. And all of those things are really important to know so that you can foster a really strong relationship with your parents from the get-go. We know that whenever we're starting a school year or a new group of kids, we always want to begin with our first communication being something that is very positive. And you would be amazed at how much that can really work to everyone's advantage whenever it comes to getting the parents to be a part of your team. First communication always has to be positive. But there are going to be some parents. Now, some parents are going to make it feel like you have a terribly challenging job. And you might, while you have those kids in your room with those parents. The vast majority of your parents are going to love you. You're going to love them. They are going to be supportive. They are going to want to do whatever they can to help foster the best situation for their students. But not everybody is like that. And it seems like every year there's one or two, but they can really make the job challenging. And so that's what we want to talk about with those particular parents today. So let's talk about certain behavior or personality types of different parents. We're all familiar with the term, the helicopter parent. And these are the parents that want to know every single little thing, regardless of how minor it may be. They're in constant communication. Really, they're kind of afraid to let their kids figure it out on their own. And they're well-intentioned. They want what's best for their kids, but they're a little overbearing. And so with these parents, you want to try to help them have some confidence in their kids that they're doing okay. If a conflict comes up with that particular student, that parent's going to probably be all up in your business about it. And you are going to have to really maintain some professionalism and keeping things kind of short and to the point. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. You may run across aggressive parents, and these aggressive parents are kind of the mama bear, papa bear, that their child may not do any wrong, and they may want to be very confrontational with anybody, such as yourself, who may say otherwise. These parents you have to be kind of careful with. Depending on the level of aggression, I've had situations where there were certain parents that I would not see them by myself without an administrator present, because I was a little intimidated by that. So you can do that. And we're going to talk about what you can, how you can bring your administrators in. But the aggressive parent can be a little bit scary sometimes. So again, making sure that they understand that you have their child's best interest at heart will go a long way to helping support that parent. And again, fostering a relationship that is more productive. And then there's one final parent. I think this one is probably one of the hardest ones, the apathetic parent. The apathetic parent is the parent that doesn't seem to really care one way or another. And this can be really heart-wrenching to have kids that have parents that are just very whatever. It's not that they're giving you full control, it's that they may not really care one way or another. And that is kind of hard to take. So trying to get these parents involved, praising your students, their children, to have them see some of the strengths of their children are really important. Those little moments can go a long way to helping that parent feeling more involved with their student. Now, anytime you're dealing with any kind of parent, whatever personality type, teachers need to maintain a very high level of professionalism. And this is where you have to set some boundaries with your parents. Some parents are going to want to have you respond at all times, anytime they have a question or an email. And you have a life. So your professional boundaries need to be set. In fact, when you are getting your communication out to your parents at the beginning of the year, the beginning of the term, it's a good idea to tell them when you are available to communicate, that you will answer emails during the school day or shortly after school. If you get an email that evening, you'll respond the next day. Those kinds of parameters. You don't want parents having your home phone number. You don't want them expecting that you are going to call them during your dinner time, or that you would receive a call, something like that. So set those boundaries, and that is okay to do. Now, when you are dealing with parents that, again, they might be a little aggressive, a little helicopter, make sure that you are keeping a very non-confrontational tone with your parents. This will help to just kind of smooth things over, keep it light, keep it friendly, and always, always remain focused on the student and what is best for the student. No matter what type of parent you're dealing with, this is really what is key. Now, there will be some things that you will wonder, what do I say? How do I approach this? So a couple of tips to think about: using things like I statements. I noticed this. I observed this. Those kinds of statements are a little better than accusations. Asking open-ended questions of your parents so that you can kind of delve into what it is that they are after is very helpful. And when you're working with these parents, keep a record of your communication. Sometimes parents will say, I contacted you last week and I never heard. And in fact, you may have responded, it may have been lost. So keep records so that you know exactly when it is that you're talking to these parents and what you are talking about. Remember that you need to be proactive so that you can, if you notice kind of a situation brewing with a student, whether it's behavior or it's grades and academics, be proactive and approach these concepts and situations early, because the longer it goes on, the more defensive that parent is going to be and a little accusatory on you. So be proactive, get in there, take care of things early before they become big things. And then one thing I notice that new teachers do sometimes is you may offer a little too much information about a situation, meaning that if there's a situation with two students, and maybe there's a confrontation between two kids, a little argument. Just stick to the facts. What happened? What did you see? Those are the things that we have to use. When we make we make judgments, or we imply, or we assume, those are the kinds of things that can get you in trouble. Only discuss what you know to be a fact. And if you are discussing something that involves another student, please remember the confidentiality of that other student. A parent does not ever need to know a name or a situation, such as what kind of discipline did you provide for another student. All of those things are very confidential, and you want to be really careful what you reveal to a parent when you're talking about a situation with their child and another student. Okay, stick to the facts, just get to what needs to be communicated. Do not place any judgment. Do not try to explain why you think a student did something, because honestly, you don't know, just the facts. Now, there are occasions where you will have students that have parents that might be a little more challenging than the average challenging. Maybe you feel intimidated. Maybe you are concerned about your safety. Maybe you are concerned that this parent is really got their thumb on you. Maybe you're even concerned about this parent being litigious and kind of looking for reasons to come after the school or the district. When you have those kinds of parents, under any circumstance you are not comfortable, it is really important that you get your administrators involved with that communication with that parent as soon as possible. And what I mean with that, by that, is first, meet with your principal, explain the situation that you may be having with a parent, explain how you feel about this situation and that you are uncomfortable communicating with this parent. And then ask if every email that you send either gets previewed by your principal and approved and then CC'd so that your principal is involved in the chain of emails, or if it's a meeting in person, that your principal is with you during those meetings. This is important just for your own well-being, especially as a new teacher. Sometimes new teachers have kind of, we don't really know what we can say, what are our boundaries and not. And so if you are at all concerned about that, bring in your administrator to help you, let them know what's going on, because you could inadvertently put your school at risk for, an attorney giving a call or anything like that. You never know. There are crazy things that happen. So get your administrator involved as soon as possible. That way, you know that you are following the school policies and procedures when it comes to communication. And quite honestly, you kind of have a witness as to what's happening. I would always also BCC my principal on any email communication once I started to feel confident in the emails, but I wanted them to know what the parents were saying. And that way you can always keep that your administrator up to speed with the situation that's happening with these parents, because sometimes it can get a little sketchy. So we want to do our best to try to be proactive with our parents that tend to be on that difficult area, so that we can prevent any really big challenges that come to you, to the school, and that we're serving the best needs of that student. That is what is most important here. And I always try to remember that these parents love their children. They're doing what's best that they think for their child, and you have to be part of a team. So make sure you involve that team until you get more confident in your communication with those parents. And listen, I know it's not easy. There are going to be emails and conversations that are going to keep you up at night. But I want to remind you that worry is a waste of emotion and energy. Once you've done your best, you have to let it go and then just learn from the situation and move on to the next one. It's never too late to repair relationships if you feel like one has gone awry. All right. Thanks for joining me today on the New Teacher Success Network podcast. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Remember to subscribe, share, leave me a comment. I would love to hear from you. And if you're interested in learning more about the New Teacher Success Network membership, visit newtsn.com and see what we're all about. It's a great group, and we are there to support and mentor and coach and guide new teachers through your first few years in the classroom. Thank you for what you do, and until